welcome back to my channel. This is Dom and another update on some of my more recent hobby related projects and painting update. So it's getting on for 2 weeks since I did the last one of these, so a reasonable amount of painting and probably more concerning, a fair bit more of restocking of the boot room here with new toys. So let's have a look at some of the painting first of all. So first up, I've been working through some of the Wars of the Roses figures that I had got ready and even prepped and were ready to be painted, but I hadn't got around to doing because frankly I've got more than I could possibly need. But I thought, well, I might as well get them done and then away from the stash. So this is a unit of Bill and Bow, which will be part of Richard III's retinue. I haven't built a huge number of his forces, but I've just got a few bits and bobs, and I just thought it was a nice little addition to the forces. So they are, I think I can say every single one of these are periplastics. Lovely models, really good fun to paint up beautifully, and probably more importantly for me, assemble pretty easily. I think these are Pete's flags, I forget now, that I put on them, and yeah, they'll go into the retinues that I have for War of the Roses. One day I must do a full showcase of all my War of the Roses figures, because actually quite a lot now, and I think I am pretty much done now. I know I've got a unit of mounted longbow and their dismounted equivalents. I've got a box of dismounted knights and a box of mounted knights, and also some light cavalry, I think, left. I may not bother making any more knights because you don't need that many, and I've got plenty. Although I guess Richard III could do with a unit of mounted men-at-arms for that glorious charge at the end of his career, shall we say. Anyway, but I think I'm pretty much done. As I say, I've got more than enough figures, War of the Roses. I mean, no project is truly finished, but yeah, I think it's really coming to its natural conclusion. Anyway, there you go. So I've also used up some of my command figures to make this base. This is Norfolk, who was one of Richard III's lords, and I've basically put together a command stand of some. I can't remember. This was a special edition figure. I forget where it came from. Somebody can probably tell me in the description. More importantly, this guy here with the standard. This is a prototype of Martin's Seventh Son's upcoming range of War of the Roses figures that he's producing with the help of the guy from Reconquer Designs. Really good. Martin's been sharing with me progress of the designs, and you know, asking my advice of all people about poses and what have you. He knows more about this period than I will ever do, but it's lovely to see how nicely these figures are coming together. And I believe probably by the time this video goes up, or pretty soon afterwards, there'll be a shop on Etsy for Seventh Son designs for all the figures that he's producing, and that, as I say, is one of them. I just love the animation of them. He's worked really hard with the Reconquer designer to get that authentic movement in a figure, and I think it comes out beautifully. So there's one of them ready to go, part of this command group. And because he can't go alone, I had to do a Bill and Bow unit for Norfolk. Again, the standard bearer guy is actually a metal. I think he's a front rank figure, but everything else are plastic Perrys. Again, just the standard Bill and Bow unit. Yeah, just not much more to say about them. Really good fun to put together, and I think this will be the last Bill and Bow I do for this period, unless I just suddenly have a hankering after doing another retinue. But I think I'm pretty much done with Bill and Bow now. As I said before, maybe a few knights or light cavalry or longbowmen might come out along the way, but Bill and Bow is done. So next up, I shared my attempts to make the Warlords Semovente Italian tank destroyer kit, and what a nightmare it was. And I did mention at the time I had two kits, and I planned to do one the Semovente and one as the M1341 medium tank, because they're basically the same tank, well, the same hull, just the turrets are difficult. And after my experiences with the Semovente, I wasn't sure I really wanted to do it, but I thought, well, I'm nothing if not tight with my money, so I bought the kit, I might as well damn well use it. And so I made this fellow. This is the M1341, as I say. And actually it was not as bad as the Semovente, although the turret has like 6 or 7 pieces. It's like, why? Just why? That's without mounting the gun. Just so stupid. But I knew a little bit more about how it went together after the Semovente experiences, which certainly helped with the hull this time round, and it definitely was a better experience than that was. But it's come out okay. You know, it'll join the Italians for the bolt action forces. I've painted up in the sort of camo that they used in Italy towards the end of their period of the war, because I kind of like the idea of it. Just again, a bit like I did with the Semovente, just sort of blodged it on with a brush, much like I would imagine they would have done with a broom or a mop, as they probably used to paint these tanks up. And it's got a generous amount of Vallejo mud caked around the tracks and around the wheels, because if you've seen a tank in action in a muddy field, that's what happens. Anyway, it's come out okay. So from a terrible kit to a really nice kit. So these are Battlefront 15mm Flames of War German anti-tank guns. I think these were actually 50mm, I think, if memory serves. And I had them for a little while, but as people know if they watch the channel, I do enjoy my O group at 15mm, and I've sort of expanded from having a late war German army to now having an early war German army as well, so I wanted some artillery to go with that. And that's why I got these kits. They are the really nice Battlefront plastics, 4 guns, as you can see, with their crews, and they're easy. They're just easy, and I think they're quite effective as tanks, as models. So I don't think I'll ever need 4 for my O group games, but there was 4 in the box, so I did them. So I won't spend long on these, but these are another pack of Battlefront German vehicles this time. Obviously Panzer III's. I did a separate video on constructing and painting these, and if I remember I'll put the link in the description, but if not you can find it on my channel. Absolute joy to do. Really, really good models. Really enjoyed putting them together because they're simples. You've got 2 with the long-barreled 50mm, 2 with the short-barreled 50mm, and 1 with the short-barreled 75mm. But there's options to make any variants within those 3 gun scales within the kits, and as you can see, they're a joy to paint up and dead simple. So they'll join my early to mid-war German forces. So if you followed this channel for any length of time, you'll know that I've been working through my Bruce's in Ireland project for the period just after Bannockburn, and I've largely finished it, but I've got a few bits and bobs left over, and so periodically I'm just painting up the last few units. So this is a mixed bag, a real mixed bag of different figures. There's Victrix, there's Perry's, there's War Games Atlantic, I think there's Gripping Beast, yada 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 in there. So I've done them just basically as a unit of Boniacs, which were the sort of, if you like to think about it, the upgraded Kerns that fought through this period. And I just thought, when I've got 1 unit in the armies, but I thought having a second would be useful, so that's what I've done these guys as, and you know, they've come out okay. Some models are better than others, Some paint jobs are better than others, but from 3 foot on the table, they'll look absolutely fine. So finally, for now, this is another Badgers and Burrows figures. This is I think it was called the Mouseketeer. Well, that's what I'm calling it. It was a figure that actually the guys brought along who were running a Badgers and Burrows game at CrackCon last year to give out to people who played the game. And I picked up this little fella, and I think it's great. It's a really lovely little model, and people who follow the channel know that I have this odd thing about Badgers and Burrows figures. I really enjoy painting them. I think just as a bit of a palette cleanser almost. They're such lovely models, and so completely different to the sort of things I would normally paint. So from that point of view, I just love it. And I would always recommend to people, you know, change it up, do different things. If you're working through, you know, 50 battalions of Austrian Napoleonic infantry, you're gonna go stir crazy. So, you know, pace yourself, do a couple, then do something different, then go back and do another one, and then do some, you know, split it up, break it up, and that's what I try and do. As you can see, my painting jumps between various periods, various types, various scales, and then also throws in something like this as something completely different. And I deliberately chose some bright colours because I wanted this guy to be, you know, kind of a real sort of, I don't know, just a character. He's obviously drawing his sword, ready to go and kick some ass, but he's a lovely little model. So there you go. So on the gaming front, had a couple of good games. Well, one good game and one not so good game, but it wasn't the game's fault, if you see what I mean. So I had a game of Pickett's Charge, which you can see the game here, link here or here, I don't know which side it'll come up on, to that game using Pickett's Charge, which is the Dan Brown rules. Really, really good. I like them. They were a precursor to General Dame, which a rule set I really like as well. But they're almost like a stripped down version of General Dame for American Civil War, and they play really well. Jono and I play it fairly regularly now down the club. We used to play Black Powder, and we switched over pretty much entirely now to Pickett's Charge for 15mm ACW. And we play a lot of scenarios out of it. He's got a ACW refight book, lots of scenarios, not for the same rule system, so we adapt it to play Pickett's Charge, which usually works, although if you saw the game we played, it was very harsh on the Union, and I was the Union, so I got it handed to me. But it was a fun game all the same. He was very apologetic, but it was just, that was a scenario, and it just was very, very tough for the Union. That said, it played out pretty much exactly as the real battle did. Basically, the smaller but much higher quality rebel army ambushed a column of Union commanders who are pretty much incompetent and don't even know their arse from their elbows and which way around to turn and what have you. So it was quite difficult to, well, in fact it was more than quite difficult, it was almost impossible to coordinate a Union response with their poorer quality but larger numbers of troops. And the one decent brigade they had in the centre basically got absolutely trounced. And the largest brigade in the Union force that I had, which was the first one in the column, didn't even ever move, just stayed on the road. It just completely froze, which again is in keeping with the refight. And then this past Friday, I played a game again with Jonathan, Tony and Paul down the club of Sharp Practice. I've been playing Sharp Practice for ages, and it was a Napoleonic game. It was a sort of, we had a scenario where you had to grab supplies across in different parts of the table. The only problem, and this happened, and Sharp Practice is one of my favourite rule sets. I absolutely love it. I think it's a really clever system. The one problem I have is every so often the cards just don't run for one side or the other, and it becomes a little bit tedious. because you're just getting hammered and you can't respond. If your cards aren't coming out, you don't move anything. That's what happened to me and Paul on Friday night. My glorious Swedes and his Russians got ourselves into a reasonable position, and then for a run of about 4 turns, barely a card of ours came out. Whereas what was even worse was for the Franco-Italian forces that Jono and Tony were using. Every card came out repeatedly. And you know, they had a big man with a musician, which basically means you can control pretty much everything on the table, and you know, from being in a reasonably strong position, we were completely trounced, and there was nothing we could do about it, and it was very frustrating. So I did start to record that game, but it got so basically tedious that actually I stopped recording it. So apologies for that if you like your sharp practice, but it happens. As I say, it happens in sharp practice from time to time, and doesn't make the rule system bad. It's just the way the cards flow. Anyway, never mind. It is what it is. This week I think we're going to go back and have another game of sharp practice, but this time we're going to do a bit of colonial, which I'm quite excited about because I've never played anything later in Napoleonics in sharp practice. Well, I suppose I have, because I adapted the Boxer. Adapted the rules to play Boxer, but this will be I think we're going Indian Mutiny, so Tony and Paul are bringing along their collection. They've got loads of Indian Mutiny figures, and that should be fun. So, and also I don't have to take anything along. I've literally just turn up and play the game, which I'm really also very excited about. Usually I take armfuls of terrain and figures and stuff, so that was nice. So that's this Friday. So on the purchases front, well, first of all, let me show you some books that I got, because as I've said in the last video, it was my birthday, and I didn't actually get that many figures. Mentioned that in the past. I got some lovely Ottomans from my daughter, but other than that I didn't get a huge amount of figures, but I did get some really good books, and I also got some money that I did then convert into figures, so we'll get to them in a minute. So first up, my mate Nick, who I used to game with a lot, he moved up to Malvern some time ago, so I don't see him that often anymore, but I know he does watch the channel. I know he watches PCP, so hi Nick, thank you. And he sent me a couple of books. We always send each other books at well, Christmas and birthday, because we find things we think, oh, that's really interesting. I bet Nick would be interested in that. And he says, I bet Don would be interested in that. And sure enough, I am. So he sent me this one. This is, it's the tale of Owen Glendower. So it's the history of Owen Glendower, the last Prince of Wales, which I think is going to be fascinating. I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be one of my holiday read books. It's quite small, which is nice. It's a biography of Owen Glendower. So I'm looking forward to reading that, as I say. He also sent me this book, which is a somewhat weightier tome. This is Martin Windrow's book on the French Foreign Legion, which is something I've never really gained or had a huge amount of interest in as a period, but I can see once I've read this I'm going to, so thanks for that Nick. Another period to delve into. So this basically looks at the deployment of the French Foreign Legion in their colonial wars between 1870 and 1935, which is very interesting. So not something I know a huge amount about, so that's great, thank you for those. So in addition, I used some of my birthday money to splash out on a book that I probably wouldn't have bought otherwise because it was quite expensive. So I picked up the the Napoleonic Ottoman Army Uniform Tactics and Organisation by C. Flanty. So there you go. This was a book that was recommended by Alan Perry, so I had to take his word for it. It's full of plates. It's a bit old school actually. It's got old, sort of uniform plates like you used to get in the War Games Research Group stuff. But it also takes you through some of the unit organisations and such and such. It was say about 40 quid, so it's quite an expensive book because it's limited publication and limited interest probably as well. But I think it was worth it, and as I say, I got some birthday money, so I thought, right, I'm going to buy that, so I did. So that was that. And in addition, I'm sure I've spoken to a few people about this book, because if you're a Bernard Cornwell fan, then you probably were tempted by this, Uhtred's Feast, which is a bizarre book. It is a bizarre book. So it is made up of, I think there's 3 short stories in here about Uhtred from the Last Kingdom. But there's also a whole load of recipes of Saxon menus. So very interesting. If you want to do rabbit braised in ale with leeks and fennel, this tells you how to. So interesting combination. I mean, to be absolutely honest, there's some very interesting recipes in here, which I might actually have a go at some point. I do like me doing a bit of cooking. And let's say there's also the short stories. I haven't read it yet, so I can't tell you what it's like, but I Bernard Cornwell, isn't it? So, well, some of it is anyway. So on the purchase front, where to start? So I mentioned before I had placed an order with Boards and Swords for that Pike and Shot box set for the Epic, and I did also buy the Village set. But Ian was having real problems getting hold of stock from Warlords, and it took a while to come through, so he sent that through to me now. So this is the Village Scenery Pack. You get a church, a windmill, and a watermill by the look of it. Yeah, which is nice. They are sarissas, I think. Yeah, it says on the front, sarissas. So that's that. And he also sent me the 2 Epic gun emplacements for this set, which was very nice of him. So obviously while I was doing that order with Ian, I had to take advantage of the PCP 5 code, which gives you an additional 5% off on top of the often 15 to 20% he is charging, to buy some more conflict stuff. So as I said before, I'm kind of getting into this, or want to. So I'm building, as you know, an Italian army for bolt action and also for Conflict 47. So I've got, what's this? This is a German Spine light Panzer mech. So this fights in the Italian army, but also I guess it can be used in the German army, obviously. I also picked up, this is a, what is it? Hausel Schreck Locust Medium Walker, which is another one for the German and the Italians combination. And more specifically for the Italians, I got these Italian Falco paratroopers, which will be interesting. And the ones that really got me very, very excited, the Italian Centurion Heavy Infantry Squad. They look like Centurions. I mean, just... so yeah, that came, and also he threw in, looks like an old War Games Illustrated with a sprue of Napoleonic epics. So cheers for that. So that came through. Also, I had taken advantage of there was a pre-order deal that Warlords did for some of the Pike and Shot next stage things. So these are the Imperialist commanders and the Protestant Alliance commanders that I purchased. So I pre-ordered these, got them at a slight discount, I think, and they were doing a free postage, which is also why I did it at that time, because postage from Warlords can be a little bit steep when you add it all up. So in there you get 5 different commanders in each box. Covers all the main characters. Gustavus, you've got Christian IV of Denmark in that one. You've got von Tilly, Wallenstein, lots of others. So there you go. That's that. And because I'm sort of working my way through a Napoleonic Russian army, so I bought some additional Russian artillery while I was buying those commanders. So this is Lycorn howitzer battery. So I've got, I think these are, can't remember what size Lycorns they are, but the big ones. But I think these are the big ones. Don't know what they are. Anyway, So you can never have too much artillery in a Russian Napoleonic army. So those will be joining them, and because Warlords always seem to send a free sprue these days whenever you buy anything. This is, it looks like a British, it's a British Commonwealth sprue of bolt action figures, which is actually quite nice. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 figures on there, with all the different options to be Sikhs and Scots and anything else you want. So that was that. So finally, it wasn't really a purchase. This is a command stand that Nick at Medieval Wargamer sent to me, because apparently I won his competition that he was running to win one of 2 command stands. So this is the Duke of Somerset and his standard bearer and bodyguard, painted for Nick by a commission painter for this competition, and say because I think you had to put a comment down and say which commander you were interested in, and I won it, which is just brilliant. So I'm very pleased. Thank you very much to Nick for that. Fantastic channel. If you haven't checked his stuff out, I'm sure everybody who watches mine will know Nick well, because he does some awesome medieval stuff. So much appreciated. I'll show you a close-up of this. It came on a smaller base, and I just basically, to match mine, took them off the base and put them lots of Vallejo mud and some Wargame Scenic water effect, and put them on that base, which will be much more in keeping with my War of the Roses collection. So I'll show you a close-up of that at the end. Thanks for watching, everybody. Much appreciated as ever, all the continuing subs. Thanks to everybody who comments and comes up with or pokes fun at my addiction and enjoys me talking through my hobby. Much appreciated. I hope you're doing well. I hope you have a good week. I hope you get some gaming in, and everything goes well for you. This is Dom, signing out.